Good morning, student. Again, we start chapter number 4. Last topic of this chapter, the growth of Puranic Hinduism, building temples, and the last topic, grappling with unfamiliar. Now, the growth of Puranic Hinduism. There were two important traditions that developed within this Puranic Hinduism. First one is the Vaishnavism and the second one is the Shaivism. Firstly, I am telling you about the Vaishnavism. Vaishnavism is a form of Hinduism within which Vishnu was worshipped as a principal deity. In the case of Vaishnavism, cults, cults means ideal. The were developed around the various avatars or incarnations of Lord Vishnu. According to Vaishnavism, there are 10 avatars of the Vishnu. Avatars were forms that the deity was believed to have assumed in order to save the world whenever the world was threatened by the evil forces. Means whenever the problems came or our earth was is threatened by the evil forces, then the avatars emerged on our earth. Different avatars were popular in different parts of the country. Here you see in this picture, Vishnu is in the center, and uh, uh, these are the around surrounded this one, surrounded the Vishnu. Here you see these are the 10 avatars. Now see it very carefully. The first avatar, point number 1, here you see, this one is the Matsya. The second one is the Karma. The third one is Varaha. Fourth, Narsimha. Fifth, Vamana. Sixth, Balaram. Seventh, Parshuram. Eighth, Shri Ram. 9, Shri Krishna, or 10, Kalki. So these are the 10 avatars. Now the growth of the Puranic Hinduism. Now I'm talking about the second part, the Shaivism. Shaivism is a tradition within which Shiva was regarded as the chief god. Shiva was symbolized by the lingas. In this time, we worship the Shiva in the form of the linga in the temples. Although we also worship the Shiva in the human figure, even also, he was occasionally represented in the form of human figure too. So, in both the figures, in the form of the linga or in the form of the human, we worship the god Shiva. Some of these deities were represented in sculptures. All such representation depicted a complex set of ideas about the deities. To understand the meaning of these sculptures, historians have to familiar with the Purans. Our historian, they were taking the help from our text, our old text like as the Purans. Purans contain stories about god and goddesses. They were written in the simple Sanskrit and were meant to be read aloud to everybody. On that time, the all our old textbooks, they were written in the Sanskrit language. Then the priests, they clear the meaning of that Sanskrit to their own language and read aloud to everybody. Purans evolved through interaction among us people, priests, merchants, and ordinary men and women who traveled from place to place, sharing the ideas and beliefs. So all these people, they spread up the ideas of the Purans among the people. For example, Vasudeva Krishna. was an important deity in the Mathura region, we all know. Over centuries, his worship spread to the other parts of the country as well. Okay, so in this way, by the others people, maybe the priest, maybe the merchant, maybe the ordinary man or the woman, they travel from one place to another place and spread up the ideas and the beliefs of the different, maybe the Rama, maybe the Krishna, maybe the Buddhas or the Mahavira. So in this way, the ideas also spread up by the people in the different parts of the country. Now the next topic, growth of temple architecture. When the stupas at sites such as the Sanchi were taking their present form, at the same time the first temple to house image of god and goddesses were also being built. It means that at the same time when the stupas were built, then on the same time we also saw the house, the buildings of these temples were also built, but not the huge temples. We saw the early temples was a small square room called the Garbha Griha with a single doorway for the worshipper to enter and offer worship to the image. That was a small room type temple that was called on that time Garbha Griha. Gradually, slowly, what we saw? We saw a tall structure known as the Shikara was built over the central shrine. It means the main room, the main that sphere room. Okay, on that sphere room, a tall structure was formed. Temples walls were often decorated with sculpture. Assembly hall, huge walls, gateways, and arrangement for supplying water made later temples far more elaborate. So all these facilities were also provided slowly in the temples. One of the unique feature of the early temple was that some of these were hollowed out of a huge rock. Many of the temples on that time were built from the rocks, from a huge one rock as a artificial caves. An amazing example of the carving out of an entire temple from a cave is that of the Kailash Nath temple at the Ellora in the 8th century. In this temple, here you see this is the picture of the Kailashnath temple, 756 to 774 AD, Ellora in Maharashtra. This temple is on that time was built from a huge rock. Now, problem faced by the European scholars while studying the sculptures. When the European scholars they were our these sculptures, then which type of the problem they face? Firstly, the European scholars were not familiar with the local traditions and beliefs. They were not know about our traditions or beliefs. They were horrified. डर जाते थे. They were horrified by the images of the half human and half animals. They considered the Indian sculptures inferior to the other European sculptures from Greece, with which they were already familiar. This was because they compared the Indian sculptures to the images of Greece, with which they already familiar. The second problem they face, the art historian use the textual traditions to understand the meaning of sculptures. Our art historians, they mostly, I'm telling you in the on that video, like as the I'm showing the different type of the sculptures. All they understand that sculptures with their textual books. While this is a better strategy than comparing the images found in India with that of Greece, but it was not always easy to use. For example, to identify the sculptures along a huge rock in Mahabalipuram, art historians have to search through the Puranas. I'm showing this is the carving or the sculpture. Now our art historians have searched through the Purans to identify it and are sharply divided in their opinions. Some feel that this depicts the descent of the river Ganga from heaven. In the middle, here you see, in the middle of this sculpture, uh, they depict that this one is the Ganga river. Ganga river which flowing from the heaven. The natural cleft through the center of the rock surface might represent the river. The story itself is narrated in the Purans and the epics. So they compare it with the Purans and the epics. Other feel that it represents a story from the Mahabharata, where Arjuna doing penance from on the river bank in order to acquire the alms, pointing to the central figure of an ascetic. So here our historians they have the different type of the views regarding these sculptures, but these historians they taking the help from the our traditional textual books, maybe the Puran, maybe from the Mahabharata. Okay, now our this chapter is completed. Thank you, student.